Here come the Big Rig Kids, y'all. Are you ready? Let's go. Here come the Big Rig Kids. Roll with the Big Rig Kids. Let's have fire the truck to you.
Yes, we are back with another show with Conversations with Grandma Polly. We want to thank you all for tuning and joining us tonight. We truly appreciate you. You could have been anywhere else, but you decided to join us. So we have a very exciting two guests for you tonight, and it's going to be awesome, but I'm not going to blow the surprise. I'm going to let Grandma Polly do that. But before we do that, let's get into it. The grandma that everybody knows and loves. What's her name, ladies and gentlemen? You know it. Grandma Polly. Give it up.
Hello and good evening. Good evening. I'm in Chester, New York. That's where I'm coming to you from. I've been here now going on 3 weeks, and tonight I decided to take my show to the outside. So you guys may hear crickets and bugs and a couple of other things going off because it's just so beautiful here and the weather is so wonderful. I would love to take this moment to thank each and every one of you who have given up your time to sit in and enjoy our conversation tonight. And if you purchased the book, I hope you would engage in the conversation somehow. We're going to open up the lines later so that you could call in. But with further ado, I want to thank my brother Kenneth for all the work he does in the background. He's the producer of my show. Kenny, I thank you and I love you and I appreciate you so much. Let's give him a hand. And now we're going to move forward. I'm going to introduce Mr. Ben, who is the godfather to Cadell. Cadell is here with us also this evening. Cadell is a 5th grader. And Cadell has been reading my book since he's been in 2nd grade. That's just how advanced he is. And he's read all 4 books. And Mr. Ben has read the books with him. And they're here this evening to talk with us about some of the lessons they have gained from reading these books. But before we go into the conversation, I'm going to allow Mr. Ben to introduce himself and tell us some of the things that he do. You know, he's a event coordinator. He's a marketing expert. And he just does so much. I don't want to miss anything. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ben, and let's give him a hand and welcome him.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Benjamin. I'm the godfather of Cadell. Phenomenal kid. I'm not going to go into too much about myself. I am a former educator. I'm currently a marketing manager, life coach, and I own my own personal event planning business. But some of my most quality time is spending time with Cadell and reading. He's in the 5th grade, great student and everything. So I'm just honored that Miss Polly would ask us to be on her show because we've actually purchased all of her books and we tend to purchase her future books as well. So that's just in a nutshell about myself. I love to read to Cadell. So we're very excited about discussing the book, The Big Rigs Deal with Racism tonight.
All right. And of course, we're going to let Cadell pop in and say hello. And then we're going to go into the conversation.
I'm a 5th grader and I go to Reedy Creek Elementary School. And I'm 9 years old. And like Ben said, he's a great reader and I just love it when I spend time with him, and I just love it how he reads to me and helps me with words with the book inside of the book and shows me pictures.
Awesome, Cadell, awesome. And we're going to dive right in because Ben and Cadell have said something that means so much with me, and I resurrect with it when Ben said that he loves to read, and to hear Cardell says that he enjoys it when they have these reading times together. And this is the real purpose behind my books. Getting fathers engaged with sons, mothers engaged with daughters, fathers engaged with daughters, mothers engaged with sons. As they read these books, it deals with issues that we're faced with in our communities. And these books were created to spark conversations in families. And my first question to you, Mr. Ben, is I know you guys have read the books, but what kind of impact has these books had, on the two of you reading these books together? What kind of conversations do they create?
It's been great. Miss Polly, before we continue, I must recognize Cadell's father, Mr. Philip Locke,
Yes.
who works in the education field and has been for years and years and years and years, and everything. So I want to kind of recognize him, Philip Locke, for being the father. He's been a director on many scales in the education field, and he could have chosen anybody to be Cadell's godfather, but he chose me to sow into his life and to be into his life. I want to say that first of all. But to get to your question, the impact of what the book has done, this book right here, when I first got the book, I thought it was going to carry me down the road as the other books, but this one did. It carried me down current events. We talked about events, and even now in schools being and different things being at an all-time high, the topic of racism, it made it easier to discuss. It made it a whole lot easier. It made it on a child's level, so I could explain it to him. And then with the pictures, it brought it to life for him. It brought it to life and made it easier. So the impact that is made for me is that it made it easier talking about it. It was current events, and the book was actually exciting. It didn't talk over his head. It didn't talk underneath his head. It was more of a family book. So I could ask questions, he could answer questions, and vice versa. But it was all current events based on racism. And I even had him, we even looked up what racism means before we started reading the book. And because I wanted to build a foundation, but the book made it easy. It's a great book. It is truly, I think this is really one of your best books I've read so far, because it made it simple and it made it current, and it's a really good book.
I appreciate that so much, Ben. Whew, yes. So it tells me the book is doing exactly what it was created to do. It brings the family together and it creates those discussions and those conversations. Cadell, how do you enjoy it? Is it fun for you when your dad or your godfather sits down and read these books for you and you're able to talk and have conversation with them? Is that fun for you?
Yes, and I have a
Go ahead.
question. Why in next book could you like add a Grandpa Polly so then it's like another adult is inside of the book?
So in my next book, you're saying you want me to add who?
A Grandpa Polly.
You want a Grandpa Polly? That's something we're going to have to sit down and talk about. And it may be possible. That is something very possible. But can you tell me who was your favorite character in this book?
Corey and Carter.
Corey and Carter?
Yes.
Were you able to relate to their situation? And have you ever had to deal with a situation like that?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Do you care to share that situation with us?
Yes. So, like, my dad is an educator and he quit his job. So, before he quit his job, people were saying that I was white. And so then I could get mad and chase him around the playground.
Okay, so in a sense, you was bullied. And in this book, Caden was kind of bullied, right? So I understand where you could how you could relate to that. Was you able to go and talk to your dad about that?
Yes, he said to tell him that he's white himself.
So he told you to be a smart mouth back. And I understand that. I really do, because that may have been something I would have told you to do also. But in these books, we come off in ways of teaching how to, first, we have to recognize the problem. Then we have to come up with solutions for the problems, right?
Yes.
So, what was your final solution in handling that situation?
I told him that I was not white and I was mixed.
Okay, and what was the response that the person who said that to you, how did they respond after that?
They just said I was Snow White.
And how did that make you feel?
Make me feel sad, because it's like back in the 80s or 1900s or 1800s, where the people like got separated and got made fun of from their skin.
Okay, I hear you. See, you're having real conversations in your home. And I like that. Just the fact that you talked about going back to the 1800s and all of that stuff. You're being educated about this stuff. And I love that. And it teaches you how to, I feel like when we have knowledge of where we came from, it teaches us how to handle situations today. And now I'm going to go over to your godfather, because I want to ask him a couple of questions, okay?
Okay.
And thank you. I mean, you're doing well, Cadell. You're great. Ben, I think just listening to Cadell and him talking a little bit about history, the 80s and the 1800s, going back. I know today, I will not think, I have a very strong conviction on this. We don't educate our children about our past, we're not going to be able to move forward peacefully to the future, because we don't know about our past. The old saying goes, history repeats itself.
That's
And
true.
you guys are doing a great job on educating him in those things of the past. And when it comes down to racism, you being a grown man at the age that you are, and I won't tell anybody your age, but
Because it's a prison.
he's around my age, guys. But anyway, I know you and my brother himself have seen and experienced a whole lot of racism. And we still see it going on today, and we're dealing with a society. Someone sent me a post from Facebook the other day, and it is so true when I think about it after you and I had a conversation. This thing that's being fought now, where they don't want to teach our history in school still yet. This is not new, it's always been that way. But they're fighting it now. And the sense is, when we come to realization of it, these are grandparents who were still fighting back when, where was it, in Arkansas, where the young black girl was the first one to attend that school. Okay, those were children then. These are the children from that era who are fighting now that don't want this history taught, because it's going to show how mean and hateful they were. And I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to let you talk and get your opinion on it.
I think, first of all, I think this is like you said, Grandma Polly. it takes a village, and we're grateful and humble to have a whole village to help out with Cadell. And that's not only from the father, that's to the aunt, to other grandparents. But the key thing is that being a black male today, we have somewhat of a different walk to walk every day. And I'll take this for example, and just like in the book, in one of the first few chapters, and I'm not going to tell the book because I want everybody to go out and get it. In one of the first few chapters, one of the relatives who was an adult was upset about what was going on, and she made the comment about we didn't do anything to this individual, which means they did. Why were they being punished? The same thing happens every day in America as an African American male. You understand? It's so funny that sometimes you can go in public places and just by the mere of you walking through the door or having on sweatpants or having on a t-shirt, people respond differently to you than you coming in with a suit or a blazer on. So racism still exists today. It's just educating our kids to say, you know what, you're beautiful inside and out. A good friend of mine, daughter, goes to a very nice, prestigious school here in Charlotte, and was constantly bullied by other girls. Just bullied, just not for her education. She's an honor roll student, not for what she wore. She dressed pretty nice, but just because she was dark complected, the girls picked on her. And the mother happened to just be a guidance counselor, so she told her, you understand, sometimes people hate because they hate themselves. And that's what happens a lot of time, even in racism. People hate themselves and they try to spew that hate on others. So one thing this book has taught me is that, you know what I'm saying, even being an African American male, it's a little different. You know what I'm saying? We have to be careful. We have to be careful what we say, be careful where we go, when other people, even African American females, don't have to do that same thing. If an African American female goes inside of a store and there are two or three individuals running out that store, there's a black male, a black woman, and a white male. Guess who they're going to run after first? Automatically. Automatically, without question, they're going to run after the black male first, even though all three ran out of the store. Is that right? No, but that's something that we have to educate our kids and teach them what self-love is. So a lot of times when I read the books, even as this one, and it discusses racism, I try to get Cadell's point of view on how does that make you feel, or what does that do? And we have to listen to kids. I was just talking to that same friend that's a guidance counselor. Kid suicide is at an all-time high. Kid suicide is at an all-time high now because parents and individuals are not listening to kids. So discussing topics like racism and bullying, we try to make that platform where Cadell can discuss those things and understand that, guess what? This is the way other people think. And just because they think that way, it doesn't mean right, but it doesn't mean that you hate them in return. Because if we hate the people that hate us, we're no better than them. We're no better than them. You understand? We have to understand that where their hate is coming from and try to get them to understand. I've always understood. I always was a person that realized that love it overrides hate. But if we hate the people that hate us, that makes us no better than them. That makes us no better than the person that's spewing the racism.
Oh, say it again, Renee.
And you speak so much truth there. And without even giving away the book, everything that you're talking about are those conversations that we have.
Yep.
It really is. Those are the conversations that we're having in that book. And when you speak about children, you know, you build the village. Yes, Cadell has a huge village around him. And that's what our children need because the village is there. But the way the book is written also, Cadell, you remember Sapphire?
Yes.
Do you do you know who tell them who Sapphire is?
Sapphire is the truck.
And what does Sapphire do?
Helps.
Do you remember? When the kids feel like they can't go talk to an adult or anybody else, who do they go and talk to?
They talk to Sapphire.
Right. And Sapphire is the voice of wisdom.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to be very careful in who we even allow access to our children,
Yeah.
because there are some things that they may teach our kids that does not line up with this love thing that Ben just talked about. I can't hate you because you hate me.
Yeah.
I still have to love you in order to keep me from becoming the person
You.
who
Yeah.
you are. So when both of us develop that mindset, then neither one of us is right, and neither one of us is going in this right direction.
Now, Miss Polly,
Yes.
I'm Grandma, and then also because I have individuals that they're actually texting me. They're asking, please give them the information on how to order the book. But I'm pretty sure you're going to discuss that a little later on. But I do have, as I, you see me keep reaching up. I have individuals that are asking how to. I'm not being rude, I promise. I'm not just saying this. The book is phenomenal. And like I told you earlier, I was joking. I'm not going to give this one away, so they're going to have to purchase their own. Um, but I have a lot of people that's questioning, that's sending messages on how do they purchase the book.
I'm going to say that right now, and then we'll do it again at the end. It's www.the, which is TheBigRigKids.org. TheBigRigKids.org. And he just put it up there again above Cadell's name. Thanks for that, Ben. And we're going to move on a little more, because I know you have been in it, you've been involved, and I'm missing Charlotte right now because of some of the community events that we have done, and Cadell has been a big part of some of those events. We've traveled to South Carolina, we've traveled to Florida, we've traveled to Maryland, and there were strong messages in the community services and stuff that we did. And it's just when it comes down to, I know we're focusing on deal with racism right now, but the other books also,
Yep,
we deal
yep,
with post-traumatic stress in the families.
you did.
We talk about those things in a child's friendly way. We deal with bullying and homelessness. We talk about those things in a child friendly way. And in the first book, we even highlighted sickle cell, which a lot of people I've met think sickle cell only affects the African American community, but it affects people of color. So all of these subjects, sometimes I said to someone, these are hard to talk about subjects. And that person made me think and say, no, they're not hard to talk about. It's just people don't want to talk about it and get the realization of it all. They rather shun those issues because sometimes they don't even know how to explain it. And I'm not an expert in it, but I've written it in an easy read to where everybody could read it and understand it and come together. And Ben,
I'll
I'm gonna let you and Cadell go on for a little bit, and then I'm gonna be quiet and just listen.
and I can relate to that, Miss Polly, because during the summertime, I've actually read the books to some of Cadell friends, and these are younger friends. These are Dylan and Devin and Jace and some of his other friends that come over to the house, and they range from 4 to 5 years old all the way up to 9. So even with the book, it's on a level where the kids can understand it. I remember one activity we did, and I sent you pictures of this one, where we talked about
Right?
the bullying book, and we wrote words on the garage ground of words like love, peace, friendship, caring, and we made an activity based on your book of the bullying. So I taught them during the summer that instead of bullying, we're going to do other things. So to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, the ages range from those boys were about 4 to 5, all the way up to 8 or 9. So it's a book that's not
Uh-huh.
only easy. It's a book that's not only easy read, that each one of these books can be they understand them and they can relate to them. And you don't find a lot of authors where you see colors of us in books, and that's phenomenal. You don't see a lot of books with us, little boys and little girls and men that have African American individuals in the book, and your books do.
Was done with purpose. If you notice, all of my characters are not black only. They're not only African
That's true.
American.
That's true.
We have Asian, we have Spanish, and we have Caucasian. And the reason for that is because we live in a world where everybody is just not from one ethnic background. We're all human. There's only one race, and that's the human race.
Yeah.
But we all have different cultures and we all have different ethnic backgrounds. And when we could bring those cultures together, and when we could get along with people who don't look like us per se, that's when the healing starts. That's when all of this chaos that's going on in this world right now is when the healing starts. Will we ever get there fully? Maybe not. But once we get started, let's love and enjoy the ones who we're with, because we're never going to get along with everybody. Even if you look like me, I'm not going to get along with everybody who looks like me. But let's start healing and start loving and putting love out there, showing how we can unite and how we can come together, because we are more alike than we are different. And to be able to come together and love on each other is a beautiful thing. What's your thoughts on that, Cadell?
My thoughts, I feel like we need less racism in the world and less people saying like, oh, I can't like hang out with you because you're African American, or like you're so black. And it's lucky for the people that are African American to live in this world, because you should be glad that you're not back in the 60s where you had to go, like, white people go to this fancy school and black people or colored people just go to a different school. Like, we couldn't go to the same school, and it might have hurt the African Americans' feelings for how they were being treated.
And that word "colored" came from your book, Miss Polly.
I know it did.
The word look,
I know it did.
let me make that known. We do not use the term. That came from the book.
Oh, and that's cool. And that's the purpose of the book. So look, it told me he read it, because that word "colored"
was in the book.
is what we were called back then.
Yeah.
And he picked up on it. And this is the reason, this is one of the reasons I put that word in the book. So when people read this, they can see what's offensive and what's not offensive. The children are sitting down when they're watching TV shows, especially when we do some of the Black History shows, and they hear the N word and they hear the word "colored." We try to shield our kids from this stuff, but how do they know not to use it if they've never heard it?
That's true. And then we even went into a discussion, and he can tell you, Cadell, what does "colored" mean? What race of people are they referring to when they say "colored"?
Colored means like skin tone.
Skin tone. We had a small discussion on why people use the word "colored," based on, you know, saying the different shades of the different shades of Black people, and where that word, we try to educate on where that word origin. It's kind of like what you said. If we take away the power of some of the words, then we'll understand it. So when we heard the word "colored" in the book, I thought it was interesting. It's real conversation. So I immediately asked him what was "colored," and he knew it, so it could be on his level as well.
And that's it. That's sparking those conversations. Because sometimes, I'm gonna say this. Um, there was a situation where, um, in the book, sometimes we try to shield our children because we don't want them to feel the pain and the hurt that we've felt from going through discrimination and racism and all these other things. But the part about it, I think, that makes it hurt more than anything is when we shield our children and we don't have these discussions and we don't have these conversations. Believe me, there are people in their home having these conversations in a hurtful way. And then these kids go out in public and they use it on these other kids that has no knowledge or understanding of what they're talking about or where they're coming from. And I think I explained that in a sense, Ben. Did that make sense to you? Where
It
some of
does.
these families are having these private conversations, and then now these kids go out in public. Well, my parents were saying this at home. Why can't I say it in the street?
Understand? It does. It makes a lot of sense, and it makes that conversation with the kids all more important on why we should
Yes,
have those conversations with kids and understand. You understand? See what they're thinking. So then, you
yes,
understand, they come home and say, you know what? Someone told me this. You understand? The same example, going back to what Cadell told his dad about them chasing him around the playground. Then we can make it relevant, and then we can make it honest. You understand? To the fact where he can feel comfortable with talking about it, because I feel that if you take away the power of some words, they're only words. You understand? If you take away the power of some of the hateful things that people say, we put too much emphasis on the word. On oh, they hate me because I'm this, I'm hating me because I'm black, and we have this misconception that there's some African Americans that don't like other African Americans. You understand? But
I agree
racism,
with you.
racism is more than just black and white, Indian, Jew, and Greek. We experience racism within our own race. You understand? You understand? We experience racism within our own race.
Skin tone, body shaming, too
Hair,
dark, hair
hair
too
texture.
nappy,
Yep.
all these things. So that's what I'm saying. And I deliberately put that word colored in there because, like I
Good
said, people
choice.
are
That's a
having
good
these
choice.
conversations in their homes.
Exactly.
When you take somebody's Cadell age and Cadell walks out and just to say, um, oh, I don't like colored people. Cadell did not get that from Cadell. Cadell picked up that negativity from home, from conversations that he heard his parents
Absolutely.
having.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then now
Absolutely.
Cadell is going to take that out in the streets. And then the parent is going to act shocked when they're addressed about it. I don't know where he got that from. Well, we didn't have that conversation. But every closed eye is not sleeping. So even if you're having this conversation and you think that kid is in the back seat of the car sleeping, or the kid is in their bed sleeping, and you're in the next room having this conversation, every closed eye is not sleeping. These kids hear
Absolutely.
and they soak it up like sponges. And that's where the hatred and all of this other stuff starts. But sometimes, and I'm going to say this without giving away too much, sometimes a person was not raised that way, but the people that they're around, the people they hang out with, the people they associate with, the people they become friends with, sometimes have a bearing on the way they think and feel. And because they want to fit in, Okay, well, they're saying this like with all of this conspiracy theory and stuff that's going on now. There were some people who never believed those things until they got involved with other people. And then they started thinking, and oh, this just sounds so true. Or because they're my friends, I'm going to do this too to fit in. So when it comes down to stuff like that, those are some of the things that we've talked about throughout the Big Rig Kid book series.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that, as Cadell's family, is taught to deter him away from things like that? Or how did the book impact you in having that conversation about things like that?
Was that question for me or Cadell?
Yes, you.
It was for me. It made it easier impact as far as all the books, from the bullying to even your first book on being able to talk to Sapphire. It made it easier for me to talk to him about it because it gave like a little sample. It gave like a little outline, a little role model in the books. And sometimes even as parents, co-parents, godparents, parents, sometimes we don't know how to kind of communicate sometimes when it comes to kids. Even being a former educator, there's some topics, you understand, when it comes to when I hear kids being bullied or teenagers committing suicide, that's hard for me to fathom. You understand? Because you understand, growing up, we were always able to come home, talk things over and everything. But today, a lot of kids are relying on their friends for things. And I grew up because I'm not going to tell my age, and Cadell, he best not tell my age either. Um, I grew up in an era where there were no secrets. You didn't close doors at home. You know what I'm saying? Your friends didn't meet you outside. Your friends came in, your parents met your friends, then you left. You understand? You didn't have any privacy. You didn't have privacy until you moved out of your parents' house. So everything that was in the house, doors are left open. It was that communication where you knew what was going on. And now it seems like it's a different generation, different ages, where kids are depressed. And the first thing the parents say when they get on the news is that, I didn't know this. And how can you live in a house with somebody and not know how they're feeling? So the books
Um,
made it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. So the books made it easier to communicate to Cadell and his friends. It made it easier to. There were samples where we drew Sapphire. It was samples of bullying, like I said, but we did the project out in the garage. The book it served its purpose, but it wasn't only for children. I learned things. I learned things, even you understand the temperament of some of the characters, adult characters, that even as adults, it's okay not to know some things. You understand? It's okay. And in the book, it shows adults correcting other adults for mistakes. I remember, I don't want to tell everything in the book, where the one of the relatives corrected one of the relatives for getting upset and saying something out of line. You understand? Even as adults, we have to take self inventory sometime and say, you know what? The way I see things, I may not consider it racist, but it could have racist undertone. The way I see others, you understand? If you see someone that's on the street and they ask you for $1, doesn't mean they're homeless. It means they may have come on bad luck. You understand? Or if you see someone of a different race, you shouldn't say, well, I'm not going to give it to them because they should know better. All of those opinions are still underlining racism. You understand? It's just treating someone different based on ethic and based on background. So if we're going to teach it, we got to live it. And more so than live it, you understand, we got to be an example. Because kids, and I keep telling people this every day. I keep I keep telling people this every day. Kids are not going to do what you say. Kids are going to do what you do.
Yep. Cadell, you want to say something, Cadell?
I think I
I would
froze.
have a
Can
Let's.
you guys hear
question,
me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes.
you, Renee. But
but I have a question. Imagine if you were back in the 1800s and you were a slave. How would it make you feel for
ooh,
being a slave, for how your skin tone is or how your skin color is? How would it make you feel?
That is a great question,
You
Cadell. I'm Grandma Polly. Just she got bumped out, but she's back in.
okay?
And Renee,
Cadell
Grandma
has a
Polly.
question
I'm
for you.
sorry. Cadell has a question for you. Yes, Cadell, you want to
What's your
tell her
question,
again?
Cadell? I'm sorry. I'm
A
out here
great
in the
question.
mountains, so it kicks me out every once in a while.
Because I'm in my 30s, so I don't
So,
know.
so I would like to ask you,
Oh.
like, if imagine you were back in the 1800s and you were a slave, how would it make you feel to be a slave, or how like you looked, or how your skin color was?
Okay, I need you to be still for a little bit because I'm getting some feedback from you. But I heard if I was back in the 1800s and if I was a slave, how would it make me feel and what?
And for how you look or how your skin color is, how would it make you feel?
How would that make me feel? Whew, there is just so many um things that I could say, but I'm going to try to give you the best answer that I can. Um, if I had to deal with that today, as into what they had to deal with back then, I would be angry. I would be upset, and would probably really feel sick because back then they went through some cruel times. They dealt with some cruel issues, and to be honest, I don't know because us adults, we never know what we can handle until we've had to handle it. But I just feel within myself that I don't know if I would have been able to survive that. I don't know if I would have had the fight in me to keep fighting to live under those circumstances. So I hope I answer your question, but I'll tell you what, it would have made me angry.
And then Miss Polly, I want to kind of comment also. To answer that, even it would have made me upset, but it would have made me work a whole. It would have made me work harder. It would have made me work harder today because I would look back and see the lives, you understand, that others have lost, the lives that others have put down, you understand, the things they have experienced, you understand, not the Rosa Parks, not the Martin Luther Kings, but those people we never hear about. So to answer that question, I think it would make me grateful and humble that guess what? Every kid doesn't have a house to live in. Every kid doesn't have an iPhone or two or three bikes. Every kid doesn't have nice clothes to wear every day. So it would make me wake up every morning and thank God for being number one, just for being grateful for somebody that has given their life for me to have the opportunity. So I think in teaching history in school, we need to let kids know that it just didn't happen. We just didn't happen to get here and able to go to universities and able to have high position jobs and able to just eat, you understand, in the same cafeteria. Someone sacrificed and someone gave their lives, you understand? And I think sometimes we have to take kids back. I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of this too. Sometimes we have to take kids back and say, you know what? You're gonna do the bare minimum. We're gonna take away the iPhone. We're gonna take away the Nintendo Switch. We're gonna take away all this technology for a
Ooh, put
day,
a pin right
and you're
there.
gonna just communicate.
Put a
Okay,
pin right there. Because when
okay,
I got kicked out, now you're back to where I wanted to be.
okay.
Yes, today now, oh yeah, you're right. It makes you work harder. It makes you want to do so much more because we're riding on so many people's shoulders who have
Yes, yes,
passed
yes,
on
yes, yes,
before
yes,
us.
yes, yes.
But where I was going with that, when I got kicked out, when you asked that question, how can a parent live in a home with their children and not know that this child is depressed or this child is going through whatever? Well, simple answer, Ben. When it comes down to technology, technology
Yeah,
is the kids' babysitters.
yeah.
They're not dealing with the parents, they're dealing with their friends and stuff online. In today's time, you have parents, and I just don't want to say mothers because in a lot of areas you have parents working two jobs. They go to work in the morning, so the kids
Yes, sir.
don't see them before they go to school. The kids come home in the afternoon. They've gone on to that next job. So now you're getting home, what, 11, 12 o'clock at night just to do the same thing all over again? So in actuality, there is no structure there and there is really no communication because you're not even passing. When you leave, the kids either sleeping or getting up, getting ready to go to school. And when you return, the kids are in the bed. So then you get up to get ready to go to work the next morning. You still don't see the kids. So social media has a lot of play in this thing because right now kids are dealing with people who you or I would have never met during that time because we
Yeah.
didn't have social media. We were only dealing with the people who lived right there around us. But now my grandkids are here in New York. I have grandkids in Florida. I have family members all over the country. And here I am in New York. You're in North Carolina. My brother's in Atlanta. Cadell is in North Carolina. But here we are joining together having this conversation.
Wow. Wow.
That's what happened. Technology has done it.
Yeah.
That's how we got there.
I think a lot of technology, just the way each generation is trying to make it so that their kids don't have to go through what they went through, and I think a lot of that is creating absence in some ways to where people are the things that they felt they should have had as a kid, they're living through their child now vicariously, if you will. And I think a lot of that is what's going on. I've been guilty of that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
And Kenny, you're right because I mean, when we talk about social media, and Ben, we're gonna go back a little bit to the suicide that you was talking about. A lot of these kids, not just from the peers that they're around, but they're sitting around watching social media. People are living fake lives on social media. And these kids are not able to discern the difference. All they see is, ooh, that person look good right here. Oh, they're doing this or they're doing that. And all of these things are creating depression in our children
Yeah.
because they already have low self-esteem. But to sit down and see this going on with this person or that person or that person, it just destroys them even more. Social media is good in its own area, but I think sometimes we give the children too much access to it because people keep saying, "Oh, you need to make your book a ebook." I won't say that I will never make the book an ebook, but I just know where I'm at right now. My purpose of the books is to get the kids away from all of this electronic stuff. Even if they're just opening that book up for 30 minutes to an hour a day, they have gotten away from, Ben, your camera turned. They've gotten away from social media just for a little bit. And that's just my take on it. And I'm going to let you guys take over. And Kenny, we want to put that number out in case someone wants to call in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we encourage you guys to call in. That's part of having the conversation. Ben, your camera's still turned.
Oh, I think he dropped out.
Okay, he'll be back.
Yes. And what happened to you, Grandma Polly?
Oh, I left too? I think that's on your end.
There
Okay,
it is.
there I am.
Okay.
And there go Cadell.
Gotcha. So Cadell, I got a question for you.
Yes.
So in reading those books, what was the most what was the biggest moment in the book that caught your interest? What happened? What transpired? What was it like? Wow, a wow moment for you in the book?
Like where where it said color people because it made me feel like I'm going back where they said I was white instead of like they said I was white and I had to confront them and tell them that I'm not white and like I'm mixed because people are like they're saying that I'm white because of how I look, but they don't know that I'm actually black on the inside.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Wow.
That is
Wow.
profound, Cadell. Thank you for sharing that. Definitely.
So you were able to see that in yourself from reading a certain part of the book where that controversy came in.
Yes.
You heard me, Cadell?
Yeah. He said yes.
Yes.
So you came to that part after reading that part in the book?
Yes.
That is awesome
Kenny?
to know. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. That is
Yes,
profound, Cadell. I
I can hear you.
thank you so much for sharing that with us because there's a lot of kids your age that can't even aren't allowed to express themselves or can't even express themselves in that manner. But it's awesome. We thank you for gracing us with that and sharing that with us. It's truly, truly, truly profound, and then give us insight on some things that we need to look deep into further as well. You know.
You're welcome.
All right.
Very true. Very true. Very well spoken.
So
Did you throw that number out there?
yeah. Let me go ahead and throw that number. People, please, if you want to join the conversation today, feel
Yeah.
free.
Anyone have a question?
Cadell, we got some some great
Question or
things about
comment?
you.
Feel free to call in.
Yeah, you can call 478
Yes.
202 4271. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to ask Cadell something, he'll grace you with his presence and answer it. Would you, Cadell? Would you do that?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And Ben, I just want to thank you so much, for coming on and
I think you dropped.
he gone again.
Yes.
His connection is probably bad.
Yeah.
Cadell, I want to thank you so much for being here and tell your dad Philip
He's coming in.
that I appreciate it and I love him and we thank Mr. Ben and I love your grandma and your granddad and your auntie and I know the family and you have a big village and you are awesome and
Can you hear me, Miss Polly?
you're just awesome.
Yeah.
I just
Yes,
wanted
we
to.
can hear you now.
You're gonna save me some postage. So I had this thank you card for you for the book. And since you're on Facebook,
Aw.
I'll give you the thank you card. But inside it reads, "Thank you for the phenomenal books, not only for the kids, but for your acts and volunteering during the year. When it comes to the Easter egg hunts, when it comes to the back to school functions, we truly appreciate you by living by example for being a great grandmother to not only Cadell but other kids through your books." You understand? And it's a
Oh
thank you card
man.
I was gonna mail. I was gonna mail that to you, but guess what? Since you're here, I can save that stamp.
You know what? The part that I'm confused about is, and you're not the only person who has done that. Y'all purchased the book for me. I thank you guys.
No, we
And
thank
here
you.
I am, people sending thank you cards, for the message, and I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong, but I appreciate you guys so much for the support and the involvement and just everything else that you guys have done. And Phoenicia, hey, we didn't forget about you because we talked about the book,
Yeah.
but we have workbooks that you have helped me create it.
Yep.
So when y'all go to my website, not only are you guys gonna see the books, you're gonna see activity books that that Phoenicia herself has actually helped me develop. And I spoke to her last night about coming on next week, and I hope she takes me up on it because she played a big part in helping developing in the development of the workbooks. And I just thank you guys so much. And Cadell, you know Grandma Polly loves you, man. You
Oh,
know that.
Thank
So
you.
when they say that foolishness to you, you know you have a whole village who loves you.
And you got one more. Here I am.
oh.
All right, Goodell.
Yes, and Cadell, that is my brother. And see, we don't look alike, but he's my real brother.
Mm-hmm. Because the bigger thing is love. Love covers
That's
a
it.
multitude of everything. And it's all
That's
you'll ever
it.
need in life. It's the only thing you'll ever need in life. You got love, it carry you
Yeah.
places that money could never
Money
take you.
can't.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
It
So
doesn't
Ben, you have any closing comments?
Yeah, Cadell's saying
Um,
something.
Oh, he is?
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what you look like, as long it doesn't it people say that, like, you have to be the same color to be their sibling, but it's like Mr. Kenneth is lighter than you, but he's still your brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. He is actually my brother.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just
Good
somebody I
job.
walk
Her
around
younger
and say,
brother.
oh, that's my brother. No, he
Her
is
younger
my
brother.
What you said, Kenny? The yellow brother?
Yeah.
That's what I call him, my yellow brother.
Yes.
And you know,
And
I
Cadell,
want to
we are
thank
so many different shades. I have a brother who's darker than me.
Mm-hmm.
I have some brothers who have my complexion. So we are so many different shades, but we're still brothers.
Yeah,
They're
we're like
my brothers.
a rainbow of colors, flavor,
There
if
you
you
go.
will.
And I want to thank Cadell because he did very well. Considering he's waiting to eat dinner after this and everything.
Oh,
But
awesome.
I want to commend I tell you, he makes the love in the house, you know, saying worth living. He's truly inside and out, just a great kid, inside and out. And I want to personally thank him for sitting through. I know he's probably smelled the dinner, ready to eat dinner. He's had a long day at school today, but I want to tell him he knows he knows that I love him, love him, love him, love him.
Awesome. That's right. Give it
Yes.
up. Give it up for Cadell.
And see, Cadell, now you have some bragging rights because not only were you here tonight, my brother is going to transfer this over to YouTube. So, you know, your teachers, your classmates, you know, you can, when they tell you, when they come to you with that negative stuff again about you being white, tell them, but I was on Grandma Polly's conversation show, okay?
Okay.
You got some bragging rights now.
That's
And you
right.
did an awesome job, and I'm so proud of you.
So proud
And
of
I
you.
thank you for staying the whole show. I was kind of worried, but you stayed through the whole thing.
Awesome. And thank you, Mr. Ben, for taking time out of your evening and gracing us with your
You're
presence
welcome.
and your wisdom and your love, man.
Thank
Truly
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
for having
And
me.
we love you, Cadell.
Uh,
Love you
And
too.
I just want to thank all of the people who joined us in watching Grandma Polly conversation this afternoon. Our YouTube,
Yeah.
our Facebook
Let
watchers.
me shout some of them out.
Okay,
Phoenicia,
go ahead.
D, Artavia, Karen, Julia, Greta, Sonia. Thank you so much, Karen. There's a lot of comments coming in tonight, and a lot of people were taking their hats off and wowing about you, Cadell, and your mindset and the way you articulate and express yourself. That's an awesome thing to be and have. So kudos to you, kid.
That's a gift.
Thank
That is a gift.
Yes.
A lot of people don't have that. When it comes down, a lot of adults don't know how to express themselves.
Yep.
So that is an awesome gift that you have. And my brother Kenneth,
We're gonna sign out because we gotta
brother,
let
you
Cadell
know
eat
I
now,
always
man.
love you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you so much for the work that you do behind the scene and for coming in. And
It's all
remember,
good.
you can order now for the holidays.
Yep.
Anything that comes in now will be my holiday orders. Go to the website. The other books are on there also. Thank you guys so much. And what do we usually say, Kenny? Y'all come on, let's get on the love truck.
Truck. The
Not
love
the love
truck.
train, the love truck. Woo,
Woo,
woo. Love you guys. And peace out.
Love you
Thanks for
guys. Thank
coming.
you all. Cadell, you were
All
awesome.
right. Go eat,
Thank you.
Cadell.
Kids, roll with the big rig kids. Let's Sapphire the truck take you to such amazing places with the big rig kids. Those helpful big rig kids. See how they give and grow and get to know amazing things. Learn with the big rig kids, and you'll see how it is to have adventure days and hang and play with all your friends. Because the big rig kids know what it is to live a most exciting and inviting life is positive. Sapphire with the voice of wisdom keeps the story rolling, and by golly, Grandma Polly drives them all to where they're going. Hop on in, everybody. Let's go! Caden, he's the leader of the crew. He's smart and brave and true. Sasha, Caden's twin, she cares a lot but can be stubborn too. Caden loves a good book too. And then Sasha, she's a regular computer guru. These are the big rig kids. Roll with the big rig kids. Let's Sapphire the truck take you to such amazing places with the big rig kids. Those helpful big rig kids. See how they give and grow and get to know amazing things. Now Maria can be rude and bossy, braces on her legs and knees, but it's not fun and hard to run with a disability.